You're always flirting. Many narcissists flirt. Not all, but many do. This is born out of a sense of entitlement, a lack of boundary recognition, a lack of accountability for the behaviours, a need to assert control, and a need, of course, to draw fuel. But this video isn't about the flirtatious nature of the narcissist, but rather the circumstances in which the narcissist accuses you of flirting. Why does that happen? Why is it done so repeatedly? What does the narcissist hope to gain from such an accusation? Why is the accusation made when you don't do it? I'm going to provide you with a worked example which explains what motivates the narcissist to behave this way, why the accusation is made, how it's done in circumstances where you're not flirting, and why all of these steps are being taken with regard to you. This will help you understand why the narcissist makes such an allegation, as it is a common one for the narcissist to make as against an intimate partner, usually the intimate partner primary source, spouse, boyfriend, girlfriend, cohab, but sometimes also, of course, as against an intimate partner secondary source, somebody we're dating, a booty call, the mistress, a side piece, the other woman, the other man. Let us take, by way of example, a mid-range narcissist who goes to a bar with his girlfriend, who is the intimate partner primary source. On entry, she says, "I'll go and get her some beers." When she says this, she provides positive fuel to the narcissist and also signals that she's under control. She's also providing residual benefits, because not only is she going to buy the beer, she's going to collect it and bring it across. There's no threat to the narcissist's control at this juncture. All is well in Narcville. Accordingly, he goes and sits down at a table and waits. His girlfriend approaches the bar. He can see her. And whilst at the bar, another man comes over and starts talking to her. At this juncture, this causes wounding to the narcissist. He doesn't know who the stranger is. And his girlfriend is now not focused on him, i.e., she is not doing an act which is to his benefit, getting the beers, because she's talking to somebody else. Now, ordinarily, a non-narcissist wouldn't have an issue with this. They would look across and see that it seems to be a friendly conversation. It must be somebody that she knows in the town, perhaps through work, maybe a family member that hasn't been introduced. They're just talking to one another, and the non-narcissist would sit and wait and would probably inquire, "Oh, who was that?" in a polite manner, making conversation to find out who she was chatting to. No suggestion of suspicion, no accusation. And that's because the non-narcissist won't be driven by the paranoia that the narcissist has. The non-narcissist has emotional empathy, which means that he doesn't automatically lash out at this person. He recognises that it's just a polite conversation. It wasn't the case that she suddenly jumped on this guy, started smooching him, placing kisses upon his neck and fondling his junk. No, she stood and just talked to him, and it was a pleasant exchange. However, with the narcissist, the situation is different. When she's talking to that man, her fuel is going to that individual. He may not be a narcissist, but that's irrelevant. The fuel ought to have been provided to the narcissist, the boyfriend, and it isn't. The fact that her attention is focused on this individual and not the narcissist threatens the narcissist's sense of control. That hair trigger need for control that can be disturbed in the slightest of instances because we have a hypersensitivity to control born out of the way that we were created. And if you want to know how that comes about, listen to my video, What Makes a Narcissist? At that juncture, the narcissist doesn't sit there, because remember he's mid-range, and think to himself, she's talking to that man, that means I'm not getting fuel and my control is being threatened and my residual benefits are being delayed. I don't like that. I'm going to do something about it. He doesn't think in such terms because he is an unaware narcissist. Instead, his narcissism in his unconscious recognizes that this is a threat to control, a threat to fuel, and a delay with the provision of the residual benefits. And therefore, the self-defense mechanism that it is steps into action, galvanizes in order to protect the narcissist. To protect the narcissist, it needs to have the narcissist feel a particular way, and it has to have the narcissist think in a particular way. Because if it does not, the narcissist will not be motivated to do anything to nullify the threat to control, resume the fuel provision, and speed up the provision of the residual benefits, i.e. those much needed ice-cold beers. When you are thirsty, your throat is dry, and you might feel a little bit lightheaded. This is because your body has a warning signal, a self-defense mechanism to tell you you're dehydrated, you need to hydrate. Most people are not disciplined enough to drink, say, water on the hour every hour to remain hydrated. And therefore the body has developed a range of warning systems and self-defense mechanisms to alert you to those problems by making you feel discomfort, pain, so that you act upon it. And thus you do, and you become hydrated, and the problem has been solved. Our narcissism operates in a similar way. Narcissism needs to compel the narcissist to do something. With some narcissists, it could compel the narcissist to go over and actually physically assault the interloper, or physically assault the girlfriend, the intimate partner primary source. But we're dealing with a mid-range narcissist that operates a facade, so that's not going to happen. Instead, the narcissism does this. It makes the narcissist feel jealous of his girlfriend. The fury is ignited within the narcissist and manifests as jealousy. At the same time, the narcissism plants the thought in the mind of the narcissist that she's flirting with this man. Remember, the outside world is all a matter of perception. What you see, what you hear, what you taste, what you smell, what you feel is merely an interpretation by your brain. As I've explained elsewhere, that with regard to a particular hormone, it has the same chemical composition, but if you place it under the noses of a third of the population, they smell nothing. Another third of the population, it smells like urine, and another third of the population smells like sandalwood. It's the same product, the same hormone, but it is perceived in 3 different ways. And so similarly, the narcissist perceives the world, when it comes to interaction with other humans, through a lens of control, and perceives the world differently to the non-narcissist. In his world, in that moment, he truly believes that she is flirting with this man. He has to believe it, because the narcissism has to make him believe it, so that he acts upon that. He has to believe it, so that he will nullify the threat to control. He has to believe it, and he has to feel it, so that he's motivated to ensure that control is obtained, fuel is obtained, and the residual benefit is obtained. Accordingly, when his girlfriend returns to the table, he asks, "So who was that then?" in a somewhat snippy tone. She looks at him, sensing that something is off. She says, "Who? That? Oh, that was just John from work." She's given an answer, but she's not provided control. So the narcissism causes the narcissist to ask a further question and provokes. "I see. So how long have you and him been carrying on together?" Now, of course, there is no actual evidence that there is any affair taking place between the girlfriend and John, but in the world of the narcissist there is, because his narcissism has interpreted the interaction in that way. That comment, of course, is provocation, designed to assert control. Now, the girlfriend might respond, "What? Me and John? Oh, you've got to be kidding. Good Lord, no, he's not my type at all. It's you that I love. You're the one that I want to be with. He's married and, oh no, I wouldn't look twice at him." In so saying, she's given positive fuel by complimenting the narcissist. She has also demonstrated that she's not interested in John, and she's signalled that she's under control. At this point, the narcissism has done its job. She has succumbed to the provocation. She didn't react in a defensive way. She assured the narcissist that there was nothing taking place between her and John, that she's not interested in him, that he's not her type, etc., thus validating the existence and importance of the narcissist, asserting control, or allowing the assertion of control, providing fuel, and of course she's now returned with the ice-cold beers, which is always a bonus in terms of residual benefit. The narcissism has done its job. She, of course, might think to herself, a little bit touchy there, or she may dismiss it and move on. But the threat to control has been nullified. But what if her response was different? What if, when the narcissist accuses her of carrying on with John, she turns round and she says, "What on earth are you talking about?" Challenge fuel. The narcissist, of course, doesn't have control, so his narcissism has to assert control over her. She's in front of him, and therefore it chooses the direct assertion of control. "You were all over him," accuses the narcissist. Why? Because his narcissism has now rewritten history to cause him to believe that she was touching John, that she would put her hand on his bottom, or that she'd lightly put her hand upon his chest, gazed into his eyes in a flirtatious manner. The narcissist does not know that he's telling a lie because his narcissism doesn't allow him to know that. He has to be utterly convinced of it. The lie is his truth. She, of course, is offended by such a suggestion because in her world, she knows that she wasn't flirting with John. She knows that she didn't touch him. She knows that she didn't make eyes at him. And of course, she's offended by that. Of course, as an empath, her own addiction to the narcissist means that her emotional thinking is rising because she's interacting with the narcissist. Her emotional thinking tickles, corrupts her empathic trait of truth seeker. Rather than just say, "Don't be so silly, there's nothing going on," she, of course, is understandably, but mistakenly for the purposes of interaction with the narcissist, offended by the suggestion that she's flirting with John. Not only is she offended because it didn't happen, she's also offended that she would be deemed to be flirtatious when she loves the narcissist. And of course, the corruption of her truth seeker trait causes her to fight back. "What are you talking about? That's absolute nonsense. There's nothing going on between me and John. How dare you suggest that?" Challenge fuel. The narcissist still hasn't got control over her. The narcissism then has to assert control over her, or at least try again. She's in front of the narcissist, so it goes again to the first assertion of control, which is direct. And he says, "Yes, you were. You're always flirtatious. You're so flirtatious." Notice again the use of the absolute, always, in conjunction often with never. The suggestion that she always flirts. Because, why? Although there is no evidence in her world that she's ever flirted with anybody else, in the world of the narcissist at that juncture, the narcissism has rewritten history to cause the narcissist to believe that she's always flirtatious. The jealousy persists, so the narcissist has that ignited fury, that feeling inside, driving him to become furious about her perceived behaviour. And at the same time, the narcissism caused him to believe that she is always flirtatious, and this is yet another episode in her string of indiscreet behaviours that humiliates and mocks him. He makes the accusation, and of course this offends her all further because she knows it not to be true. "What the dickens are you talking about? Always flirtatious? Flirtatious? That's nonsense. There's something wrong with you." Challenge fuel is issued again. The narcissist doesn't have control. And of course, those of you listening will be familiar with such an exchange, the back and forth as the victim, completely befuddled and bewildered as to why they're being accused of something that they have not done, seeks to placate or at least argue their case with the narcissist to demonstrate that the narcissist is wrong, because from your perspective, the narcissist is wrong. You don't want the narcissist to think ill of you. You don't want the narcissist to maintain an untruth about you. You're offended by this, and justifiably so. However, at such a juncture, you're invariably unlikely to know that you're dealing with a narcissist, and therefore you think that you can persuade this individual to see the truth of your situation, and you continue to argue with them. Your own addiction, creating the emotional thinking, causes you to keep trying to persuade somebody that is unpersuadable. The more that you protest your innocence, the more that you challenge the narcissist's sense of control. The more that you protest that you haven't done anything wrong, the more that you threaten the narcissist's control. The more that you plead your innocence, the more that you threaten the narcissist's control. And the narcissist will keep coming back at you until such time as the narcissism details or recognises that the direct assertion of control isn't working. And at that juncture, the narcissist stands and says, "I'm sick of your fucking flirtation. You're always flirtatious. I'm going home." And he flounces in a mid-range style. He has moved to the third assertion of control. The first was not working. He issues one further provocative remark by labelling her as always being flirtatious, projecting, of course, and through the assertion or attempted assertion of control. and then his narcissism determines this wasn't working, she's not going to lie down and give us the control, we can't move to the indirect assertion of control, therefore move to the third assertion of control, which is withdrawal. Is he controlling her? No. But in his world, he is. And that accords with the principle of flectere in aequo superos accelantum avibo. If I cannot move heaven, then I will raise hell. If we cannot control you in your world, i.e. directly, then what we will do is we will create an alternative world, either indirect or through withdrawal, where our narcissism signals that you are under our control. And by removing himself from her threat, he nullifies the threat and goes home. Of course, she might run after him, pleading and crying, and that might continue to challenge him, or if she sits there, mouth agape, bewildered as to what has actually happened, then he asserts control, and when she comes home later, nothing is said about it. The reset button is pressed, the moment has gone and dealt with, and it's back to her being painted white. The allegation of "you're always flirtatious" is projection. It's a provocation, and it is caused because it is invariably a go-to response of the narcissism where the partner of the narcissist interacts with the opposite sex. If you like, it's an almost stock response to accuse the victim of being flirtatious and, of course, using the absolutes of always or never. In this instance, it's the use of always. And that's why a narcissist will repeatedly accuse you of being flirtatious, because, with the unaware narcissist, the narcissism convinces the narcissist that this is your behaviour. It creates a feeling of jealousy through the ignition of fury, and pops the thought and the repeated thought into the mind of the narcissist that you have been flirting, that you were all over that person. Through the distortion field that is the narcissism, that is the recollection. The narcissist is not conscious that they are lying, it is their truth. I know many of you may find it hard to believe that that can happen, but it does. Recognise this, you will have witnessed the conviction by which you're accused of such things as being flirtatious. Notice the utter conviction by which it's said, it can only be that because the narcissist truly and wholly believes it. And why? Because that's the way that the narcissism causes the narcissist to think and feel in that moment. I'm H.G. Tudor. Thank you for listening.